What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC 297 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, January 20th, 2024. Strickland versus Du Plessis in the main event. And then the co-main event for the vacant Women's Bantamweight Championship, Raquel Pennington will be taking on Mayra Bueno Silva. And the rest of the card, you got Magny taking on Mike Malott, Chris Curtis taking on Marc-Andre Barriault, Arnold Allen taking Movsar, Evloev. So that's, I think overall, on paper, it's kind of a weak card. I will give it a 7 out of 10. Could be the banger, but who knows, right? I think overall it's a 7 out of 10. I mean, you got some good shakeups. That could be why too, right? You have Raquel Pennington and Mayra Bueno Silva fighting for the vacant championship, so that division is going to get shook up a little bit. You got Sean Strickland taking on Dricus Du Plessis. I mean, if Du Plessis wins, right? Like, what are we going to get from that? Who's going to be on the next? And then it could get a little bit weird in there. So it'll be interesting. Neil Magny, the gatekeeper, taking on Mike Malott. Obviously, Mike Malott's going to probably, well, he's expected to go in there and annihilate him probably, but we'll see. Yeah, so did pretty well. First event, 9 wins, 2 losses, right? 9 right, 2 wrong. I think that's pretty good for the first event. We move on to the second one, and we try to do even better. Let's see if we can get that perfect somewhere in there for 2024. Let's get into the first fight. In the first fight on the main card, we have Arnold Allen, 19-2, taking on Movsar Evloev, 17-0. And this should be a pretty interesting fight because you have Arnold Allen, who was able to taste that next level competition, the highest of competition against Max Holloway, the best in the division outside of Alexander Volkanovski. And he lost, but he lost via decision, and he was able to stay in there, go those 5 rounds, get that 25 minutes, see what he's got. I was surprised Allen didn't go for a takedown in there, try to land something, get in the clinch, just make it a little bit more of a dirty fight. I guess he just couldn't get on the inside, but I do think for the first 4 rounds, a lot of it was just him trying to land that big left hand, right? He really wasn't mixing up well, and I think he was being telegraphed a little bit because you start throwing the left hand, it's like you're fighting a guy like Max Holloway who's going to make you miss, like, top level boxing in UFC and MMA, and it's just not what you want to do. Now in the 5th round, when he started pressuring more and started getting Holloway backing up a lot more, he was able to find more success. And I think now, granted, at the end of the round, he almost got absolutely knocked out, but he did find more success when he was a lot more aggressive, not just chasing one shot. So we'll see what he can do here. And I think his grappling, like defensively for Arnold Allen, I think it's pretty good. I don't see Allen getting taken down here over and over and over again. I don't see that happening. Now for Movsar Evloev, he's coming in this fight undefeated, and he's the decision king, right? Unanimous decisions outside of 1 split decision. But the problem I have with this is we see guys like this, and he's not as dominant as like Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? He's not like picking guys up over his shoulder, slamming them on the floor, and then ground and pounding and just blanketing them and killing them the entire fight. So it's not one of those guys that I look at and go, oh man, he's going to come in here and just annihilate Allen with the wrestling. Nah, man, I think Evloev, I mean, we saw in his last fight against Diego Lopez, some sketchy moments where he was in some bad spots. He was able to get out of them, but he just doesn't have that like urgency to get that ground and pound going to. I mean, he was hammer fisting Lopez, but still, it wasn't like he was going for the kill, it felt like, right? And obviously on the feet, I think most of his strikes come because guys, they start focusing on getting taken down, that some of the shots open up on the feet. And he hasn't knocked anyone this entire time in the UFC, so it's not like his striking is devastating or anything like that. I think a lot of it comes just from him just peppering his opponents and trying to get that takedown. Like, he wants to get inside and then get the takedown. He's not really like, I don't really see him as a guy who's throwing these 1-2s that are just pop, pop, pop. He's not nasty, knocking anyone out kind of power or anything like that. So, and Allen, my other concern with someone like Evloev is, it's all fun and games. Your cardio is decent. It's good. It's you got it going on when you're just pretty much not facing any sense of resistance on the feet, let alone on the floor, as far as defending your takedowns. But I think Allen's going to make this very difficult to be taken down. So if you have someone just consistently diving in for those takedowns, you're going to have Evloev start to maybe tire out a little bit, right? And I mean like significantly, like I don't see Evloev taking Allen down 9 times, for example. I think he's going to struggle a little bit and have to actually run into a wall and start putting in some work, and then that's when he might start struggling a little bit, because then we get to see his striking, but then you're chasing a guy who I think Allen's going to be improved striking. He's going to kind of know, right? He fought a really high level, at least an MMA striker in Max Holloway, so I'm interested to see what Allen looks like. I think if he mixes up his attack and he stays aggressive, Evloev is going to be he's going to have a little bit of a problem, and Allen could KO him. He could submit him defensively, but I'm going to go with just more of him beating him up and taking over the fight, maybe in the second and third round, and outpointing him on the scorecard. So I'm going to go Arnold Allen to defeat Movsar Evloev by decision. In the second fight on the main card, we have Chris Curtis, 30-10, taking on Marc-Andre Barriault, 16-6. And this is going to be a tough fight for Marc-Andre Barriault because Chris Curtis does his best work in the pocket, right? We saw against Nasruddin Imavov where, they eventually had the head clash or whatever, but I think Imavov was winning that fight. He got 3 takedowns. He was outstriking him, landing the bear shots. Chris Curtis was having a hard time getting in on him to land his big shots. And so Chris Curtis, anytime he's basically having to chase his opponent, I think is just not it, right? Because he needs to get into that pocket to start landing that nasty damage. He has good takedown defense as well. I don't think Barriault's going to be able to take him down consistently. If he does go in for a takedown, maybe there's opportunities to get into some scrambles where Barriault can maybe go for a submission or something. But for the most part, I think this one's going to be on the feet. And you have a guy like Marc-Andre Barriault who's willing to come in close. Now, he can land some pretty devastating shots, but I would trust Chris Curtis's chin so far. I mean, he's definitely ate some shots. And Marc-Andre Barriault's not fighting like Imavov, right? So I'm okay with going with the guy who probably has the better chin and who also has devastating power in close. Yeah. I think Marc-Andre Barriault is going to try to be aggressive. He's going to go after him, try to land a big shot. But then Chris Curtis is going to just try to, he's motivated to get a fight back in here, right? You get the no contest against Imavov. He was crying after that and stuff like that. So, I mean, he's going to want to go here and try to get a victory and really annihilate him and do it in a way too, right? Where it's not like a decision. And then Barriault is just going to go in here and probably just try to throw down. So I'm not too worried about it. Unless Marc-Andre Barriault is able to keep distance and, pitter patter at him throughout the fight and keep that distance up and make Chris Curtis walk in on a lot of shots. But nah, I think it's going to be a banger and someone's going to get put down. So I'm going to go with Chris Curtis on this one to defeat Marc-Andre Barriault. Also going to win by round 1 KO TKO. In the third fight on the main card, we have Neil Magny, 28-11, taking on Mike Malott, 10-1-1. Gatekeeper of the welterweight division, Neil Magny. He's been around forever. He's fighting all these guys, win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. He's a tough guy to deal with, but if you're really better than him in a certain aspect of the game, which I think Mike Malott probably is going to have a little bit better of the grappling and the wrestling, it could cause him problems. On top of that, there's a game plan to beating Neil Magny. You just have to pressure him back up against that fence and give him no space and land heavy shots, and he will definitely start to turtle a little bit. And on top of that, if you have some good wrestling, you might be able to take him down and hold him. So the game plan is there to beat him, right? It's just a matter of Mike Malott, I think, just being patient, setting up his takedowns well, landing good shots on the feet, hurting him on the feet, even maybe, and then taking him down, trying to look for a submission. He just can't get overly excited to the point where he's gassed out or something in the second and third round, and then Neil Magny just ends up reversing him on the floor. That's my only concern here, is if Mike Malott just gets tired and Neil Magny tries to drag this into the second and third round, because we know he has the cardio. He knows how to win a decision too, right? Neil Magny would be one of those guys who wins the decision even when maybe he shouldn't have won a decision. Like his fight against Phil Rowe, he won the split decision, but he got outstruck in that one. And he got taken down in that fight, and somehow he still won. So he could also be a decision king. You got to be careful with Neil Magny. You got to definitely have to finish him. But I think Phil Rowe, like I said, pressure him, land those big shots on the feet, and then also if he starts to back up too much, maybe you hurt him, drop him on the floor and look for the submission there and then get the win. So for me, yeah, I'm going to go Mike Malott to defeat Neil Magny. I'll take him to win by round 3 submission. In the co-main event of the evening, we have Raquel Pennington 15-8 taking on Mayra Bueno Silva 10-2-1. For the vacant bantamweight championship, Amanda Nunes obviously retiring. So this is weird because obviously Raquel Pennington, she got taken out by Amanda Nunes. It's always weird when that happens, right? You retire and then it's like, oh, you guys can fight for my title. Who cares? Now, granted, she didn't beat Mayra Bueno Silva, but still, right? You have Bueno Silva coming in here, definitely on the come up, looking pretty solid. But she's fighting a veteran, Raquel Pennington, who isn't gonna go down without a fight, right? I don't really see Raquel Pennington here looking horrible, I guess is the best way to say it. Like, I think she's gonna put up a good fight until she doesn't. Even if she gets finished in the second, first, whatever, like it'll be competitive. It's not going to be maybe on the grappling, who knows, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But for Raquel Pennington, she's coming into this one with a victory over Ketlen Vieira via split decision, in which she outstruck her on the feet, 81 significant strikes landed to 64 for Vieira, and then but she didn't land 2 takedowns, so she was unable to get those 2 takedowns in that one. But she outstruck her, did her thing. There's moments where Pennington does really good boxing in close. She's able to land elbows. I think in close she does the best work. Now she can be taken down, but she can also have moments where maybe she gets a takedown. Now I don't think in this one she's gonna want to take down Bueno Silva unless she's just annihilating her on the feet, right? I don't think she's gonna want to get into that grappling, or she makes Bueno Silva tired or something like that. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. But Raquel Pennington, another one of these fighters where if you let her outbox you, she is going to, right? She beat Aspen Ladd 114 significant strikes to 65, won that by unanimous decision. Got the submission victory over Macy Chaisen in that one, round number 2, right? So she's fought some people, but when she hits that next level competition, she's just unable to win the fight. And she's had fights that just looked not the best, right? The Raquel Pennington versus Holly Holm fight, 38-30 significant strikes, landed 1 takedown. That was not the most entertaining fight. She's beaten Irene Aldana, close fight there. So I think against against girls that are not grapplers, she's able to maybe mix in a couple takedowns here and there, get some control in the clinch. We've seen her get stuck on the fence before, and we've seen her stuck people on the fence. So she's a gritty fighter, right? She's a gritty fighter, and she's gonna in opportunities where she can land, like maybe get a finish. She's maybe able to pull off a submission, but for the most part, I would say she's definitely gritty, get in your face, try to beat you up, and land better strikes and more volume over the course of those rounds. So, but for Mayra Bueno Silva, she's coming in here off of the no contest with the ADHD medicine, and then that popped and whatever. I'm not gonna take that too much into like how that like, oh, she beat Holly Holm or whatever. I'm gonna look at that one more as just Holly Holm basically gave up a position and she took advantage of it against someone who obviously knows how to submit people, right? So she beat Lena Lanesberg by knee bar. She beat Stephanie Egger by submission armbar, round number 1. So she's capable of winning these submissions. But when she's fought someone like Manafio, she lost via unanimous decision. She got outstruck and she ends up getting taken down twice in that one. Now, that's my concern here. My concern is her striking probably is improving over time, but it's not the best. Like if they went toe to toe in close, I'm probably gonna have to go with Raquel Pennington. I think Raquel Pennington in close, like in that dirty boxing range, is gonna win that. She's just gonna be gritty, land the elbows, go to the body, but the knees, stuff like that. She's gonna make it an ugly fight. Right, I don't really trust Bueno Silva doing that for 5 rounds or 3. I think that might start to tire a little bit out. But for Bueno Silva, there might be moments where Pennington ends up in these awkward positions. Maybe she's in the, they're in the grappling, and then she ends up in this weird positioning. And then next, Bueno Silva is able to pull off a submission, a knee bar, an arm bar. Like, that's my concern, is that Pennington might be winning this fight on the feet. And it might be pretty obvious that, like, oh, like, she's just better on the feet. But then they get into these moments where maybe Pennington goes in for like a clinch and then she loses position, and then Bueno Silva just, it's all over. That's my concern here. And I feel like it's gonna happen. Like, I feel like Pennington will actually be doing well, and then she'll get into an awkward position where Bueno Silva is able to submit her. And the same thing for Bueno Silva, a lot of kicks, right? She's definitely going to come at her with a lot of kicks, and she'll throw knees too in close and all that. So she can definitely hang. I just don't think she'll be able to do that as long as Pennington is. I think Pennington probably wants to get in close, land the elbows, make it ugly. It's just a matter of, like, is she going to be able to take her down? And that's my concern here. Because I do think Pennington maybe early on will be able to stuff some takedowns or just get out of the exchange. But the more they start going at it, I think Bueno Silva is just going to have opportunities to get a submission. And, I think she's obviously going to be able to go for it and do it in a way to where it's very swift, right? Next thing you know, you're getting choked out. Unless Pennington's able to either hurt her super bad early on, like she goes out there, just three pieces her, and then knees her in the head, and then you just have Bueno Silva like going everywhere, and then Pennington rushes in and starts lighting her up. If she has that, I just don't feel like Pennington has that urgency, right? She doesn't have that kind of style. She just wants to make it a gritty fight, and she's not finishing people left and right. So yeah, that's why, like, Pennington could win like a 5-round decision, right? A split decision or something like that. But I don't think this fight's going 5 rounds, just because stylistically for Bueno Silva, I think she's probably gonna try to go for a submission somewhere in there. But I guess it's possible. Like, maybe like Marina Moroz, that fight where she got outstruck and lost the decision. Who knows? Maybe Pennington's able to just piece her up for 5 rounds and wins the decision. I feel like that's not gonna happen, but I guess it could. But yeah, I think for Bueno Silva, she goes in there. It's a fill out process that first round. Maybe some slight clinching, breaking away from it. Maybe Bueno Silva eats some big shots, but then throws a lot of kicks, right? Starts to chop away. And that's the other thing. I think Pennington, she's going to definitely eat some of those kicks to her legs, and that might slow her down a little bit. So, and then that second round, come out, get into some more grappling, and then Bueno Silva just quickly, whether it's standing or just awkward positioning from getting taken down or whatever, then you have Bueno Silva just be able to get in there and pull off a quick submission. So I'm going to go with Mayra Bueno Silva to defeat Raquel Pennington. I'll take her to win by round 2 submission. In the main event of the evening, we have Sean Strickland, 28-5, taking on Dricus du Plessis, 20-2. And this should be a pretty good matchup, just because Israel Adesanya not being champion. So you're going to get a lot of these matchups where the reigning guy is no longer the reigning guy. So you have a lot of ones where maybe people that lost to Israel Adesanya are going to come in here and fight each other. So this is a good one. I think it'll be entertaining. I wish they kept that drama going into the fight, though. They kind of made up or whatever, but I feel like it would have helped themselves some more pay-per-views, but it looks like they made up. Either way, we look at Sean Strickland, and he is coming off of victory over Israel Adesanya, in which he won the middleweight championship by unanimous decision. And it was pretty unanimous in my opinion, just because Israel Adesanya, he didn't look like he showed up to fight, right? Like, yeah, he landed 94 significant strikes, but it was just against the fence, waiting to counter, just nothing going for him. I feel like he didn't even take too much risk. Like, he just got shut down, basically. So you had Sean Strickland pressuring throughout the fight. He landed more significant strikes and just beat him up, right? He ends up dropping him in that fight as well. A nice 1-2. And Adesanya just wasn't able to get anything going. I don't know. It was just a very bizarre kind of fight where you're expecting something like that to be a little bit more competitive, and then it's just not. Like, it's just nothing to it. So Sean Strickland, great victory for him. And now he's taking on Dricus du Plessis, who is also coming off of he's undefeated in the UFC. and he's coming off a victory over former middleweight champion Robert Whitaker in a fight where he pretty much beat him up, right? And eventually finished him in round number 2 via KO TKO. He ended up getting a takedown. Both guys got takedowns, but he doubled up him on his significant strikes. I think this is one of those things where Du Plessis, you've seen his progression through the UFC, and there's been moments in these fights where it's just like, I don't know if it's like on the feet or whatever. And they say he had that surgery and all that. I mean, he could look great in this fight and go out there and just annihilate Strickland, right? Just dart at him and land a nice jab like he did against Robert Whitaker and ended up taking him out. So Du Plessis has a lot of power, a lot of explosive power. It still is concerning if things get crazy. Like if he does exert too much energy and you have someone like Sean Strickland who isn't going to just sit back against the fence, right? Sean Strickland is going to come forward. He does his best work inside in that dirty boxing range, right? He's going to just stand right in front of you. He'll eat some shots, but he's definitely going to stand right in front of you and press forward, try to hit you with that 1-2 and just come at you and try to out volume you and get in your face. So it'll be interesting to see how Du Plessis is able to handle that. Now, again, like I said, it could also just be as simple as Du Plessis, Strickland's coming in close like that and it's perfect. And then boom, he just gets rocked and it's all over. And he loses kind of like how he lost to like Alex Pereira. But for me, it's just, there's a lot more questions that I have for Du Plessis. And like I said, they're not bad questions, I don't think. I'm not going into this saying that Du Plessis is going to gas out or something in the second round. But I like to see, again, someone who's not going to just, because Robert Whitaker was sitting back against him. Derek Brunson, I mean, he's just, he goes out there and then just loses the fight in the latter rounds because he gasses out. Darren Till had moments, right? Darren Till definitely had moments against him. In another fight where I just felt like Darren Till kind of threw that one away. Brad Taveras, I mean, that was pretty decent. Nothing too crazy in there. And then he won his first 2 fights, Marcus Perez and Trevin Giles. But yeah, I mean, against Darren Till, I felt like just kind of threw that fight away. Brunson, same kind of thing, just kind of threw the fight away. Robert Whitaker, Robert Whitaker just looked really, I don't want to say afraid, but just he looked like he was waiting for Du Plessis to come in there and just land one of those big shots, and he was like too hesitant, and so he was sitting back, waiting for his opportunity. But you know, Du Plessis was able to. He didn't have him pressuring him, so he was able to just load up on some of his shots, and then he ends up dropping him with a jab and then falling through, taking him out. And he can also utilize wrestling, right? I think grappling and all that. I think Du Plessis might try to get this to the ground, although I feel like Sean Strickland has pretty solid takedown defense, so I don't really feel like, you know, Du Plessis is going to just take down Sean Strickland at will. And when they get in close, I mean, Strickland's going to be giving him a lot of looks. He's going to be giving him a lot of jabs, and he can be dangerous. You know, he's not knocking everyone out, but he just overwhelms you because it's just such a grueling pace to have to deal with some guy who's just walking you down, and you try to throw something out and he eats it a little bit or he blocks it, and then he just coming back with another, you know, more combinations, and it just kind of gets a little bit crazy. You know, he might eat some leg kicks in this one, right? So Strickland's gonna have to check those. But yeah, I think this is one of those fights where either we're super surprised, like Du Plessis like goes in there and wins like a unanimous decision, gets 5 takedowns, not gassed out, and he wins a unanimous decision, or he goes in there and just annihilates him pretty quick. And then for Sean Strickland, I think we get a late finish or we get a unanimous decision. I don't think it's, you know, I don't think Sean Strickland's gonna like knock him out early on. Could be wrong, but probably not. So a lot of questions for Du Plessis, and that's just why I can't go with him. But I won't be shocked to see if he knocks him out. So I'm gonna go with Sean Strickland on this one. I'm gonna take him to defeat Dricus Du Plessis. I'll take him to win by round 4 KO TKO. And so that'll do it, guys, for my UFC 297 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, January 20th, 2024. Let me know who you think is going to win in the main event, Sean Strickland, Dricus Du Plessis. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.